Hello and welcome to my channel In Search of Wonder. My name is Anne and this is my weekly reading vlog. Today I do not have coffee with me or even tea or any beverage at all. Today I have some homemade ice cream. I made this with the leftover, some of the leftover cranberry curd that I had made last week in my reading vlog last week. And I blended it with, get this, cottage cheese and a little half and half and some allulose and froze it. And then I topped it with a little whipped cream and a little more of the cranberry curd. So let's see the little tastes I've had. Seem like they're pretty good. Pretty good. I also added little cacao nibs that add a little tiny bit of crunch and like chocolate flavor. Let's get this reading vlog off to a start. I don't have much to say though at the moment. I'm just kind of set the stage for what I'm planning to do this week. This evening, at the last minute, I made plans with my sister to go see Little Women, the musical, a local production of it. She wanted to go with someone. So I was like, sure, twist my arm. So I'm gonna do that tonight and I'm very excited about that. I saw the play earlier this year with my husband in New Stanton, Virginia. And so now I'm gonna go to Winchester, Virginia and see the musical. And then this coming week is going to be a really quiet week for me because my younger son is going away to camp, to church camp. And my older son is going to be working at a day camp during the day. And then for 3 evenings next week, he's going to be working his other job. So he's going to be a very busy boy and not home much at all. My husband has his usual work schedule, which leaves me home alone. And I am not complaining about that. I will probably get a little stir crazy. So I may have to go do like some thrift store shopping or, you know, whatever, and find some things to entertain myself with. I am hoping to go to the Folger Shakespeare Library next Friday. That will be one of the things that I would like to do. And I don't know if I want to include that in this vlog or make a separate vlog of that. We'll see. So those are my big plans. Other than that, I'm going to be planning for our vacation, which is the following week. And also this is going to be my last week of real summer when, well, okay, aside from vacations, real summer at home. Because once we get back from vacation and then my husband and I are going on a quick getaway the following week, after that, teacher training and getting ready for the next school year starts. So this coming week is going to be soaking up the last bit of summer and the last bit of the quiet days of summer. And looking forward to it, I've got to say. It is Tuesday evening and I am home by myself for a little bit, so I have time to film in the peace and quiet. I did not read much today. I mostly was doing working from home stuff and housework, but I did read yesterday. At the very least, I was able to finish The Gossip Story by Jane West. So if you don't remember, The Gossip Story by Jane West was written in the 18th century. So it was a book that Jane Austen likely read. This particular book, she is not on record as having stated that she read it, but a couple of things. First of all, Jane West was a very popular author of the day. And Jane Austen seems to have kept up with all of the popular authors in her time. And the plot has strong similarities to Sense and Sensibility. It's hardly coincidental, especially given the timing of when the book was released and when Austen herself started writing Sense and Sensibility as an older teenager. Now, I will say, I mentioned, I think it was last week that I said, or maybe it was on my clip earlier, I don't know. I don't know when I said it, but it's not Sense and Sensibility. It's very different. When you hear the description of it, it's like, it's the same book, but it's not. They're very different. So in this book, The Gossip Story, we do have two sisters. One of them is named Marianne. One is supposed to represent more of well-reasoned, thoughtful behavior, whereas the other one, Marianne, is supposed to represent more of a romantic nature, a highly romantic nature, very sensible according to the definition of that day. And I already talked at length in my review of Sense and Sensibility, so I will link that up here. I talked at length in that video about the whole issue of sensibility and romanticism, so I don't want to go into all of that again. But in this one, it's kind of interesting. The lines are not as clearly drawn as they are in Austen's book. So Louisa is the other sister, the reasonable one, the mature one. She was also, though, very emotional at times. There were times when certain things happened in the story that she was overcome with emotion. And so it would take her a little bit to recover, but she always did recover. And then she was able to regain like her sense of balance, her mental balance, her perspective. She was able to make a plan of action and do it, and to be able to react appropriately to whatever the circumstances were that, knocked her down emotionally. Whereas Marianne, it's not so much that she was emotional about everything, it was more her extremely romantic perspective on life that was skewed, and that she did not listen to the advice that was given to her, particularly by her father, as well as her older sister. She did not heed their advice. She maintained her perspective, and then you see where the perspective led her. And one of the big themes in this story was that Marianne's romantic ideals of love and marriage did not stand the test of an actual relationship. And that seems to be Jane West's primary point, which she really hammers home in the last couple of chapters with her remarks in the narrative about, everything that happens in the story. And whereas Louisa's relationship that she ends up having is founded on mutual respect between herself and her eventual husband, mutual respect, and also mutual demonstration of strong character. Like, they both have had opportunity to observe really strong character qualities in the other prior to ever getting married. So obviously that sort of marriage is contrasted with Marianne's marriage, which her marriage is based on attraction and this idea that love conquers all, and that if you just love somebody enough, that nothing is a problem, nothing will be an issue. Like, you can overcome everything if you just have enough romantic love. And that the idealism of romantic love is enough to conquer everything. And this romantic idealism that Marianne and her husband have as they embark on their marriage, as very young people, by the way. So they're very young and they have these ideals, but they have no maturity and they have no strength of character to withstand the difficulties that arise very soon after they are married. And so their story ends up becoming a very sad one because they're just not able to handle the complications that marriage brings. They don't have a strong foundation in their relationship to handle that. So that's really where Jane West is coming from in this book and the themes that she is drawing out. Austen, in Sense and Sensibility, was stepping back with a broader view of sense versus sensibility and was looking at it more from just a more general perspective of the two points of view, worldviews, if you will, and their effect on life in general. To relationships, yes, but not played out in a marriage relationship in the same way that Jane West is doing in this story. So it was definitely interesting. I want to read more by Jane West because I'm intrigued. I won't say that this was an amazing book, and I don't think it's one that everybody will just enjoy just picking it up and reading. For one thing, there are some flaws, in my most humble opinion, in the narration of the story. I mentioned already, so apologies if this is a repeat of information for you, but Prudentia Homespun is the narrator of the story, who is essentially a pseudonym for Jane West, but she is established as a character in the story, as she is also the one telling the story, and she inserts herself regularly into her narrative. So she breaks that fourth wall, so to speak, and she communicates directly to the reader all the time. So that's unique, and it's very different from Austen's typical omniscient narrative style. That in itself, it didn't bother me. Like, I actually at the very beginning found it kind of interesting, but what did bother me was that then this character, Prudentia Homespun, she very, very often in the story is able to give very detailed information about private encounters between the various characters, and she gives no information as to where she got this from. Where did she hear about this conversation? Now, there's definitely servants' gossip is utilized in this story, but she always says when it is. And she always talks about the servants gossiping with each other. But there's entire stretches of the story, like entire chapters, where she's just describing in great detail these private encounters and things that nobody else would know about, but with no information as to how she acquired them. And to me, that's a flaw in the narrative. I'm not sure it would get past an editor nowadays. I don't know. I don't know how the publishing industry worked back then exactly. So I don't know, but it to me, it seemed like a glaring error, a big flaw in the narrative style of the book. Like, if you're going to establish this person as the narrator, then it has to make sense how they came about the information, and they shouldn't be sharing stuff that they shouldn't know about unless they can clearly demonstrate how they got the information. Otherwise, it's just unrealistic. So that was my primary issue with it. What I did love was that this book was very strongly from a Christian perspective, and even more so than Austen's books. Jane West is a lot more forthright in her discourse throughout the narrative on various aspects of Christianity, of faith, and as in particular their application in this story through the themes and the actions of the characters, etc., all of that kind of stuff. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and is one reason why I wanted to read more by her and see what her other stories are like. I don't think that the gossip story is generally regarded as one of her best. It's just I happen to be interested in it when I heard the similarities between it and Sense and Sensibility. She has some others that are, I believe, were, more popular ones and perhaps better known. So I'm going to see if I can find some more by Jane West, because it wasn't a total loss. 3.5 stars. I was highlighting quite a bit in my Kindle as I was reading it and enjoying some of her insights and her thoughts. And there was also, a decent, a very strong thread of humor running through it, like a humorous perspective. It wasn't a funny book really, but she just had, a naturally witty way of sharing things sometimes that was humorous. So there was a lot that I enjoyed about it, but overall it kind of fell flat. But I'm intrigued, and I want to read more by this author that I had never heard of before finding out about this book. Because I finished that one, I am going to draw another card, and I don't think I have anything left in my TBR for the month of July that must be read. Everything that I am committed to reading, I have at least started already, and I've basically finished the Jane Austen July readathon, other than reading Emma, which I'm on pace to finish in time. And I don't know, let's see. And for my challenge, I finished the Gossip Story, so that crosses that off. The Christian fiction one I read for Jane Reed's Christian Fiction Challenge, and I have the one in process for Chantel's Read Your Shelf Challenge. So I'm doing well with my TBR, and I still have plenty of time. So I'm going to draw a card, and then this one will just be kind of a free for all, whatever I want to read. So let's draw a card. All right, here we have my deck of cards, and let's just pick one right here out of the middle. King. All right. I don't know that I've drawn one of those yet. I don't think so. Let me see what that is. Genre. So for 1 point, my favorite. For 3 points, Christmas. And for 5 points, nonfiction. I don't particularly want to start a nonfiction right now, and I'm definitely not in the mood for Christmas. So even though it's only 1 point, I'm going to go with favorite. The thing is, favorite, historical fiction is a favorite genre. Epistolary is a favorite genre. So you know what that means? That means Emma M. Lyon. That means I'm going to read volume 7 of Emma M. Lyon. That's what I'm going to do. For only 1 point, sadly, but it's better than nothing, right? And it's what I want to read. So for 1 point, I am going to read Emma M. Lyon. But before I close out this segment, I do want to share a bit of a haul that I did yesterday. I went to a library after chauffeuring my children around. And this library, I went to their, ongoing book sale, and I found a couple of things that interested me. So I got them. First of all, Evelina by Frances Burney, which I have read, but I read it on Kindle. I think I got it from, I may have got it from Kindle, or I may have downloaded it from Gutenberg Press and put it on my Kindle. I'm not really sure. But at any rate, I read a digital version of Evelina, and I don't have an actual copy, but now I have an actual copy. So here is Evelina. And I do eventually want to reread that one. Now I have a copy, and I can. The next one, I am tentatively putting this on my pile of possibilities for next month for the Prairie Trail Readathon I'm hosting. And that is The Indifferent Stars Above. This is by the same author who wrote The Boys in the Boat, which so many people loved, but I haven't actually read. So this one, it does interest me, but at the same time, it scares me. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to handle this one, but I'm interested. And the fact that it's, an author that everybody loves his other work makes me think that I would enjoy it as much as it's possible to enjoy it. Anyway, The Indifferent Stars Above, if you have not read it or do not know anything about it, is the subtitle, The Harrowing Saga of the Donner Party. And if you don't know about the Donner Party, they are infamous for having been on the, was it the Oregon Trail? At any rate, they were pioneers. They set out west from Illinois, and George Donner was the leader of the wagon train, and they reached the Sierra Nevada mountains as the first heavy snows of the season closed the pass ahead of them. And I'll just read this next sentence. In early December, starving and desperate, Sarah and 14 others set out for California on snowshoes, and over the next 32 days endured almost unfathomable hardships and horrors. And I'm just going to tell you, spoiler, nobody survives. I think everybody knows that. If you know about the Donner Party, you know that anyway. Tragic story, and I'm not sure that, I don't know, it scares me, but at the same time, I'm very intrigued. So that was actually $2. It was a little extra $1 for some reason. I don't know why. And then this also is going to go on my pile of possibilities. Women's Diaries of the Westward Journey by Lillian Schlissel. Well, I'm assuming Lillian Schlissel edited and collected these, and that they're actual diaries. More than 250,000 Americans crossed the continental United States between 1840 and 1870 in one of the greatest migrations of modern times. The men of the rugged frontier have become an integral part of our history and folklore, but pioneering was in fact a family matter, and the westering experiences of American women are central to an accurate picture of what life was like on the frontier. I don't know if I would recognize the names of any of these women. who have diary entries. Catherine Hahn, Lydia Allen Rudd, Amelia Stewart Knight, Jane Gold Tortolot, Rebecca Hildreth Nutting Woodson, Barcina Rogers French. And then it has diary entries. So that I feel like will be very interesting. And I may not read all of them, and I probably won't read everything because there's a whole bunch of other information besides just their diary entries. So I may just read some of these diary entries and not like read the whole book. But I think that would be, to read at least some of them could be very interesting next month. So, all right, that is enough talking from me. My word. Okay, I still am reading The Other Princess. She has not gotten to England yet. She's still in Africa, but she has met the man who will take her to England. And she knows that's where she's going to be going. And then I have not really started Cotillion by Georgette Hare, which was a book that I had like a pull pick for drawing a 7 card last week. And I still haven't really started that one. So definitely need to get started on that, but I wanted to finish up something first. So I finished The Gossip Story. So now I can get working on that. I also want to finish Emma ahead of schedule. I want to finish it this week because I'm going on vacation next week and I don't want to bring my annotated version with me, and I don't want to finish on a different edition. So I am definitely going to use some of my quiet time this week. My quiet meaning I don't have a lot of stuff going on this week. And I don't have people in the house with me during the day. I am all by myself, so which is wonderful. An introvert's dream, right? So I am hoping that I have some time to just finish the rest of Emma. I'm getting to a really good part too, the best part of the story where I really just want to keep reading it. So who knows? I may even finish it tonight. I don't know. But anyways, that's what I got going on. So much talking. I'll see you later this week. It's Wednesday afternoon. Yeah, it's just afternoon, 12:02. Let me turn that air down so it's not so loud, hopefully. I did some housekeeping and yeah, that's about all I've done. And I've eaten my lunch. And oh, I did do some work from home. Yeah. Very productive morning. Anyways, I am going to go to a coffee shop. And then I'm going to go to the library and possibly along the way to a thrift store. Who am I kidding? Possibly, definitely going to a thrift store along the way. And at the library, I, of course, went to browse their book sale section, which my local library doesn't have a very large one, and I don't very often find anything there, but you know, I always like to look. And I also want to look for books for the Prairie Trail Readathon. I put a bunch of books on hold and they're slacking because even the ones that they have in my branch, like on the shelves, they have not yet put on hold. I don't know what they're doing, but anyways, they've clearly not been working as hard as I have this morning. Hello. I'm just kidding, by the way, in case you can't tell. Anyways, I'm still going to go and browse, and whether or not my books on hold become available or not, that's fine. I can go back tomorrow or Friday. I just want to see if I can find anything for the Prairie Trail Readathon. I'm just kind of like, I don't have a plan for it. My TBR and recommendations video will be out this week when you're watching this. But it's going to be interesting because I don't have much of a plan. Let's be honest. I don't have much of a plan. I mostly I'm going to have a big, huge pile of possibilities that I'm going to mood read my way through. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. So anyways, to the coffee shop, to the thrift shop, to the library. Off we go. Thrift shop first, guys, because priorities.
And how she called it, and what did he say? Did you guys get the price? Yeah. Well, that is so exciting. Gosh.
Okay, thrift store was fun, but I didn't get anything to speak of. So now I'm at the coffee shop. This particular coffee shop I've mentioned before, but you know, I know y'all don't remember. That's okay. It is run by a local ministry, and they hire people with disabilities and give them a job there. So I try to go whenever I can, which isn't often because their hours are not very conducive to my schedule, but I'm here today. Plus, they have a loyalty program, and so I'm due for a free drink. So, and the same ministry also runs a thrift store on the bottom floor of this building, and it's actually a really nice, carefully curated, more boutique style of a thrift store with only clothing. And so I always like to pop in and browse and see what they have there. So the fun just continues. Follow the arrows to the coffee. It's a bit of a walk. And here we are. Got my iced latte. Oh, I should have gotten it decaf. Oops. Okay, so I did end up getting a summer travel dress kind of thing at the thrift store. So that was a good find since I'm going on vacation next week. And now I am going into the library to browse and see what I can find. Whoops. For the Prairie Trail Readathon. It wasn't really very successful in terms of the browsing as far as Prairie Trail Readathon stuff goes. I didn't find anything new that I didn't already know about. And I was, however, able to pick up some holds that I had put in. So, and I did find some things completely unrelated to the Prairie Trail Readathon. Am I going to get to these books? I don't know. Probably not, but I'm going to switch to the other view so it'll be easier for me to show you my little library haul. So hang on there while I flip us all around. Okay, so here's my little stack. This one was a hold, One More River to Cross by Jane Kirkpatrick. And let's see. In 1844, 2 years before the Donner Party, the Stevens Murphy Townsend Company leaves Missouri to be the first wagons into California through the Sierra Nevada. So similar to the Donner Party story, but I think perhaps maybe not quite as tragic. So that's the first. And then Sandra Dallas is a new to me author, but some people in my Discord had recommended her and are reading her for this readathon. So I picked up Westering Women, which I think is a newer one by her. from the best-selling author of Prayers for Sale, A Celebration of Sisterhood on the Perilous Overland Trail in February 1852. And I think it's like a mail order bride sort of story, maybe? I'm not 100% sure. Copyright 2020. So that was a 2020 release. Another Jane Kirkpatrick, What Once We Loved. And this one, let's see. Ruth Martin had a dream to become an independent woman and build a life in Southern Oregon for herself and her children. So that's that one. The rest have nothing to do with Prairie Trail. Murder in Highbury. This is a newer one that's like a cozy mystery based on Emma, the Austen Emma, obviously. And I'm curious about it. I've heard mixed things. I'm not sure if I'm gonna like it, but I checked it out. And I've read other books in this series before. This is Edmund Bertram's Diary. Since I just read Mansfield Park last month and then Emma this month, I'm sort of curious to read these retellings or spin-offs of those books. A Lady's Guide to Scandal by Sophie Irwin. I have read one or two other books by Sophie Irwin. They're just like fun Regency rom-coms. I think Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting I read, and it was a fun escapist read, good for summertime. Will I read it? I don't know, but I picked it up. And finally, Miss Austen by Jill Hornby. I read one other book by her, didn't love it. In fact, I DNF'd it. I don't know if I would like this one or not, but I kind of want to watch the BBC new series that came out based on this book. But first I want to read the book. This one I am the least likely to get to. But, you know, I got a whole stack here. There's no way I'm reading all these. Emma. I love Emma. Emma definitely vies with Pride and Prejudice for being my favorite Austen. They're equal in my opinion. I just love both of them. After finishing both of them, I just get that happy sigh, book hangover kind of feeling. I love Emma. Just love Emma. I finished it the other night, but I didn't have time yesterday to record my thoughts about it or anything. So I'm doing that right now. This is Thursday morning, and I apologize if you can hear the cicadas. They're going gangbusters out there. But it is a lovely, gorgeous, not super hot summer day. We've actually had amazing weather this week. It's been absolutely beautiful. So that's been wonderful. But anyways, I finished Emma. I just love Emma. And I don't want to say too much because this weekly reading vlog is already on the longer side. And I'm trying to, I've been really wordy this summer and I've been doing like some more vlogging stuff. So my weekly reading vlogs have been kind of on the longer side. So I'm trying to scale that back a little bit. It's a little ridiculous. So I don't want to say too much. I'm toying with the idea of making a separate Emma video, but I don't know when that would go live. It wouldn't be for another month or so probably. But suffice it to say, I love Emma. I love her character. I love the development of her character. I love how realistic of a person she is. She's not like a goody two-shoes, perfect sort of person like some people complain that Fanny Price is. She's the opposite of that, and I love that. I love that she's so real. She's such a real person with real actual flaws, not villain kind of flaws, but just real realistic flaws that people actually have, that good people have. But she also is, you know, a blend of the good as well, because she is at heart a good person. And I love Mr. Knightley as well. I love the two of them together. I love the final third of the book is just like perfect. I love it so much. So love Emma. Really enjoyed this reread of it. And I am reading The Other Princess, and I'm almost halfway through. I'm finding it fascinating and interesting. The whole story is so intriguing to me about this African princess who is slated to be sacrificed. Like her whole family has died, and she's basically awaiting her own death. And then she is rescued by an English officer who is Queen Victoria's representative, I guess, in Africa, you know, dealing with King Gezo, who was at the time like warring against all of these other African tribes and killing them off. And
selling them for slaves, etc. She ends up going to live in England as the ward of Queen Victoria. And so Queen Victoria is responsible for her education, etc., all of that stuff. So I find the whole concept fascinating, the whole story very interesting. I have a couple of complaints about the book. One in the writing of it, and the other in the way the character is portrayed. So far, our main character, Aina, is her African name, and her English name that she's given is Sarah. So Sarah she's not very likable the way she is portrayed by this author. And I am curious to know if that's generally how she was perceived, or if that's just the way the author is writing her. She's very entitled and very snobbish, refuses to interact with others, and like adamantly refuses friendship of anyone who basically isn't also royal. I don't know, it's not just that, it's like just she's very contrary. She's very negative in her perspective about almost everything. She had a hard life. So if she really was like that as a person, allowances can be made for the tragedy and the trauma that she went through as a child that would affect anyone forever negatively, for sure. But if she wasn't actually like that, that's what I want to know. Was she actually like that or not? I want to know. And since this is a biographical novel rather than an actual biography, I'm not sure how much of this is the author's imagination and how much is reality. And the other thing is, I read the author's note at the end already, and it tells you nothing, which I dislike in biographical novels. So most of you know already, if you follow my channel at all, you know I love biographical novels. It's one of my favorite forms of fiction. But I like them to have detailed author's notes at the end so I can understand what are the things that happened in this book that are true and real, which characters are real, which characters are fictional, where are the lines drawn between fact and fiction. And there is none of that information in the author's note. It tells you nothing. So I am a little disappointed in that as well. The other thing is, in the narration, there's a lack of clarity. Let's put it that way. Let me give an example. Okay, so in this one section of the book, she's talking about how she's living in England with a family at the time, and she has been struggling with her health. And so it says, the warmer nights were blissful, but soon even that was spoiled for me. My nightmares returned. I thought they'd left me for good, but no. I'd fall asleep only to awake drowning in sweat and damp sheets. And so then she talks about the dreams that she had, and then it moves on. Then it talks about, like, there's the passage of time. The first week in May, we received a message, and he booked my passage on the steamer to Sierra Leone. And then it says, for these past months, I'd stayed awake all night to study and learn as much as possible about England, the royal family, but now I was heading back to Africa. So, I mean, I hadn't even noticed that before. Okay, so it's talking about she's having the nightmares night after night after night. Then it's talking about how she's not sleeping. She's staying awake all night, doing these things to impress the queen. And then the next paragraph says, my nightmares stopped because instead of sleeping, I wept. But the previous paragraph says, I'd stayed awake all night for the past month. So her nightmares stopped because she stayed all night sleeping, but then she was up all night working, but then she was having which one is it? Is she having nightmares all night long? Is she not sleeping because she's busy studying? Or is she not sleeping because she's crying? Which one? And then you turn the page and it says, Mrs. Forbes came to me one night when the nightmares had slipped back into my sleep. When is this after she had the nightmares, but then they stopped and then they started again? Or was this back during when the nightmares were actually happening? Before she stopped sleeping? That's the sort of thing, it's confusing me. And that's just one incident. It happens, that same sort of thing happens repeatedly, where she seems to be contradicting what she just said in the previous paragraph about what is happening. It's a very contradictory. There are other incidents like that one, examples in the narrative where it's just kind of confusing and I'm having difficulty tracking it. So it is an interesting story though, and I want to read more about this girl. I want to finish the book and find out more about her life in England as the ward of Queen Victoria. And I'm curious to know more about her. So I think there's some actual factual biographies that would be interesting to read. I have not started Cotillion yet, which is slated on my list to read. And I have started Emma M. Lyon Volume 7. So I am going on vacation starting today when you are watching this. It's Thursday now. Part of me wants to have finished reading The Other Princess and Emma M. Lyon and Cotillion so I can start vacation with a clean slate. But that is not going to happen because that's 3 days, and that's 3 books in 3 days. And even though I'm halfway finished this one, yeah, the other 2 are not going to be read in 2 days. So that's not going to happen. But I do want to, I do need to plan what I'm bringing for my vacation. This is going to be my final clip for this weekly reading vlog, even though today's only Thursday, only because I already have quite a bit of material here that I need to edit and get posted before we leave. So it's a matter of timing and how much time I have to do stuff. But also, I don't know what I'm going to do as far as upcoming content. So I do already have a video planned for this coming Wednesday, which is my August TBR and recommendations for the Prairie Trail Readathon. And then I also have other content planned for, the weeks after that. I have actually, it's coming up on one of those seasons where I have so much content that I don't have time to get it filmed and edited and up. So there's that. But as far as weekly reading vlogs go, there's definitely not going to be one next Sunday because I am going to be in the boonies where internet is unreliable, shall we say. And also because I don't particularly want to bring my computer with me to do editing, and I cannot edit on my phone to save my life. So I am not going to have a weekly reading vlog next week. So I'm probably will just be filming some short clips on my vacation, and we'll have like a 2-week vlog after that. There's just, yeah, I think plans are in flux. I guess you'll find out when it happens, and I will find out when it happens exactly what I'm going to be doing. But I do know for sure there will not be a weekly reading vlog next Sunday. That I know for sure. And I have no idea yet, other than bringing the Frederick Blackman book, A Man Called Uva, on vacation. Other than that, I don't know what I'm bringing on vacation. The Prairie Readathon will start while I'm on vacation, so I'm definitely going to be bringing something related to that. I don't know what yet. And yeah, that's all I got. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Upcoming reading and content plans and life updates. So I hope you all had a fantastic week, and I hope that this coming week is wonderful for you. And please let me know in the comments any thoughts that you have about what I've been reading this week and what you are reading this week. And I will see you next time. Bye.